Hello and welcome to another edition of the Good News Theater. My name is Paris Dobbins and I am your host. Today we have a special guest and her name is Ellen Kaplin. Ellen Kaplin has been in Springfield, for a number of years, and she does everything. She's a professor at Smith College. She is actually an actor, she's a director, she's a writer, and she is very prominent in the community of Springfield. So without further ado, Ellen Kaplin. Hi, Ellen.
Hi, Paris. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is
You're
great.
welcome.
It's a lot of fun.
Yes, it is. Well, we're just going to ask you a few questions
of course.
and about what your role is here in the community of Springfield. So, Ellen, where are you from?
Well, I'm from New York. I say as if there's the only place to be from. Of course, I grew
That's
up in
right.
New York,
Mhm.
and I lived in North Carolina, and that's where I went to graduate school, and then I was in Philadelphia for many years, and then I came up here with my family, my husband and my two sons.
Okay.
One is 27 and the other's 31, and we moved here, I think it's 17 years ago. We were in Northampton. I've been in the area here for almost
Okay.
30 years,
Mhm.
but we moved here because we wanted our boys to be going to area Jewish schools, and we wanted to live in the Jewish community. So we moved to Forest Park,
Sure.
and we have been part of that community now for 15, 17 years, which has been great. It's a tight-knit community, and I want to say that one of the things I was very much looking for and found in Springfield is I wanted a city and a diverse city.
Okay.
Springfield is wonderfully diverse. Before that, we'd lived in Whately, and then we lived in Northampton. Great places. But this is more, to me, like how I grew up, which is a community that has people from everywhere, and I like that.
It really is a diverse community here in Springfield, and
really
it's
is.
growing. It is growing.
Yeah.
So, what is it that you do that you can offer the community of Springfield, the greater Springfield area?
Well, okay. I hope so. I'm in theater. That's what I do. I'm
Yes.
a professor of acting and directing at Smith. I act, I'm a professional actor and director, and I'm a playwright. And I also work a lot. About a third of my work is working with outside the theater, so it's with underserved communities. I've worked with theater and literacy a lot. I've worked with elders. I've worked with kids with exceptionalities. I did this in Pennsylvania for many
Okay.
years, so that I worked with kids who were had every possible physical, mental, social, emotional, along a continuum of abilities in inner city Philly and in rural Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And when we moved here to this area, I continued some of that work, but I also began to work in prisons. I worked in Springfield with adjudicated teens. The guys are on Worthington Street, and the young women were out, I can't remember, I think by Indian Orchard. But we did projects, we did audio projects on STDs in the communities.
Okay.
And these kids were amazing, and they created raps and comedy
Ooh.
routines and incredible things.
Fantastic.
It really was. And I should say, so I want to say a little more about that.
Okay, sure.
Because the prison work has become a central part of what I do. I taught a class at Chicopee, women's facility, with half Smith students and half inside students.
Mhm.
And I continue, and I've written a play about death row based on the writing of the now more than half a dozen men and women around the country that I know on the row who've contributed to that. So we've done that in
Really?
the area too. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and actually several have become friends. I am friends with, I write and talk to, and I just got today a lovely letter. So I'm very proud of that, because it's been tremendously nourishing for me, and I think good relationships, so yeah.
Fantastic. That's awesome. So, as a professor in Smith College, what is it that you teach there at Smith College?
So I teach acting,
Acting.
all levels of acting. I teach fundamentals. Next year I'll teach acting comedy, which is I love.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
It is, and I teach Shakespeare. So I teach the several different courses in acting. I teach directing. I teach also. I am also sit in Jewish studies, so I teach staging the Jew and looking at Yiddish theater and American Jewish theater, and I have taught a class that's brought me down here. Theater and social change, where my students for half the semester worked at Kensington School.
Okay.
And they were doing theater with the kids there. There were other sites too. They worked in Holyoke, different students work in different places. But that was great because it's really a course on how theater can work in the community with lots of different people doing lots of things. It's not
Certainly.
just about, being
Certainly.
on stage.
Mhm.
So that's, and the other thing, if I can lead into
Sure,
the Spanish
please,
thing.
please.
So right now I'm working, two things. One is I just finished a play. It was a solo show that I directed. It's called The Tattooed Man Tells All. We did it in Greenfield. We're hoping to do it again in New York, actually. I did that with Silverthorne Theater, and Silverthorne is in Greenfield, but last year I did with them a piece at the Bing down here
Okay.
that was about Haitian poets. It says Speak Poet was the name of it, and people from everybody, people who didn't usually come to theater, were invited, came, and we had kind of group circles afterwards, like, what does theater mean to you, and what did this piece mean to you?
Very powerful.
It was great.
Very powerful.
And, the idea of engaging the Haitian community was really exciting too.
Oh yeah, certainly.
So that kind of work, I know, I was going to say, that leads me to what I'm doing next. One thing, I'm at Smith, I'm going to do a new musical, which I'm excited about, that a former
Okay.
student is writing. And
Ooh.
one of my colleagues is doing the music for it.
You must be proud.
I love it. It's amazing, right? I'm like, wow, look at you.
Exactly.
But I'm working on a piece that I hope actually to bring sections of to Springfield. I work a lot with my colleague, Estela Jareche. Estela is Argentinian, and we have done many, many projects together. I speak Spanish. Estela's an actress. Currently, we are working on a piece called La Razón Blindada. I'm going to Argentina to work on it with her, and by
Wow.
next spring, we'll be bringing it back here. It is a 2-person show in Spanish, and I speak very good Spanish, but this is really hard. The guy who wrote it's a genius, but I'm like, oh wow, but it's great. But it is about his brother. This playwright's very well known in Argentina. His brother was incarcerated during the Dirty War down there. He was really thrown away into a prison, very isolated.
Sure.
So the playwright, Aristides Vargas, interviewed his brother, and the brother said, well, you know what we did? Every week we pretend to be Don Quixote and Sancho Panza. That's how we got through this for 30 years. So the play is these two prisoners playing at being Don Quixote and Sancho Panza, and it's very funny and it's very powerful.
Comical.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's so sad. So we do it. We're training with a clown, actually, an Argentinian clown. And so next spring we're hoping to do scenes of it. We're going to do a couple of scenes in Holyoke at one of at Gondara. We hope we're working it out. But we'd like to do it. It's exciting for us to do it, and I think it's relevant and fun. And
So you'll be filming that down in Argentina?
we're not going to film it. We're rehearsing it there.
You're
and
rehearsing
then,
it in Argentina. Okay, gotcha. And it'll be playing here.
Yeah, we'll then do it here. Last time she and I did something was 2 years ago, and we toured it. We took it to places in the Midwest, and we took it to Puerto Rico, and we did it at Smith. We'll do the same thing, but I'd like to do this, if we can, also to do at least scenes of it in Springfield.
So it's going to be at the Bing Theater, or it's going to be...
Oh, I don't know. You're way ahead of me.
This is way ahead. Gotcha. Because I'm just figuring out how can we get, some people to attend, maybe a couple tickets we can offer to the community.
I think that's great.
To say we can, see all this talent that you have to offer.
Well, I think that would be fabulous. So I can't think about that yet. But
Okay, so,
in the
right.
spring, I'll be talking to you and say, okay, here's where we're doing
In the
it.
spring, I'm putting the horse before the carriage here.
I've done, going back to the Jewish community, I did a film about Jews and Gypsies, Roma in Eastern Europe years ago. But I brought it down here. I did a play about the artist Charlotte Solomon, and we did it at the Springfield Museum. So I've presented things at the Jewish Community Center, at Springfield Museum, and other venues in Springfield. There's no reason not to bring stuff here.
Certainly. Well, that's pretty informative. I thank you. Seriously, I mean, you're just a well circumferenced woman, in the arts,
Yeah.
and that's wonderful. I'm sure the community is the Latino, the Haitian community is going to be looking forward to.
I'd really look forward
It's going to be a
it.
treat for them.
I think it's exciting. I really want to do work here because although I teach in Northampton, this is where I live. And
Right,
so I
exactly.
mentioned, or I didn't yet mention, a few years ago I was on the Arts Council in Springfield.
Okay.
And I think that there is so much possibility here, so much talent here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just amazing things. So wherever I can connect to it, it means a lot to me.
And then we have the casino coming, so that's
Oh, right.
that's going to be something another.
Yeah,
Piece of,
that I don't do. I can't. I'm not Wayne Newton or whatever singing in a. I'll go see the shows.
well, there's also stages there where you can perform
That's
and,
true.
and plays that that you're in that you write for.
Yeah, no, that's true.
You never know what the possibilities are. But I did want to ask you, moving forward.
Yeah, of course.
You did some work with the prisons.
Yes.
And tell me about that, Ellen.
Okay. So when I moved here, which is, as I say, it's 27 years ago actually, I was. The prison work started because I was directing Twelfth Night, a Shakespeare, and someone at Ludlow called me and said, well, can you bring something in? We have programming for incarcerated mothers and their children, and they're 90-minute sessions once a month, and often people run out of things to say. What can we do?
Sure.
And I thought, doing scenes from Shakespeare didn't seem that sensible to me.
Sure.
So instead, and it's a comedy, I had my actors come in costume, in character, and they're really crazy characters, and they interacted with the kids and the moms, and the one who does a silly dance did his dance, and the one who's lovesick just ran around being lovesick, and the mothers went, forget the guy, just forget him, which was great. And then Sir Toby Belch is his name, he belched, and I brought a Polaroid camera, and so the characters in costume interacted with the kids and the moms, and I took pictures, and they were ready right away. And so that
Polaroid, yes.
it was such a great experience. That got me interested in doing theater workshops, which I then did. I did with some students. I did at Ludlow, and that started this kind of work that it's a continuation of what I'd done before in Philadelphia.
Sure.
And not going to say things in order because I can't remember, but I do know that then we worked on the project I mentioned before with the adjudicated teens. I did that with Professor Al Mosley, who is also an incredible saxophone player. And Al has worked, he's taught in prisons, and so we decided we wanted to work with teenagers. And when we came in, these kids, we thought we'd teach them, right? They were like,
Right.
oh, tape recorder, give me. And they
Sure,
were
sure.
off, and they were fabulous. They just
Wow.
created amazing raps and these comic routines, a little
Sure.
play called Do It Now. They had lots to say, and they had lots of creative energy, and we had raps from them in Russian. I'm trying to remember, and I think one was in Vietnamese. I know that we had a Caribbean contribution. It was, I think he was from Jamaica, but I'm forgetting now. But we had in so many, we had a Polish, because the kids were from, it's such a diverse area, we were saying. So the kids were actually from many different backgrounds. So what we created
This
was
was in the
hall, yeah, they're adjudicated
jail,
centers,
yes.
right?
Oh, the adjudicated.
Well,
okay.
yeah, but they're
Yes,
residential.
sure,
The kids stay
sure.
there.
They're-
Yeah.
Right, they're mandated there.
That's
yeah.
right.
For sure.
That's
sure.
right. So it was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. And then it was when okay, so there's a training called Inside Out, and they train faculty to teach inside prisons and jails. And I took that training, and as a result of that, I taught a course at Chicopee on women and violence using theater, because that's what I do. But half the students were inside students, they were women in Chicopee, and the other half were my students at Smith. And one of them now runs a residential treatment center. One of the Smith students runs a residential treatment center in Holyoke. I just visited her. She's amazing. But that kind of work led me ultimately to contact people through friends who were on death row or serving life without parole.
Sure.
Some are in solitary. One guy had been in solitary for 29 years, and they started writing to me, and we started developing friendships, and I took things they submitted to me and created this play. And the play is the writings, it's monologues, it's poetry, it's dream sequences from their writing, and then I included my writing, a character who's kind of me. It was totally disoriented and sort of horrified by this whole thing. But so that was, now I'm continuing. I'm writing, I just wrote an essay about trauma and creativity and how that works. If I may, just today, I got a letter from one of my friends at San Quentin, and he is trying to turn his life story into a play. He says, send me the formula. There's no formula for it, but we'll work on it. I did want to, if I have time to say one other thing.
Sure, no, we have time.
Oh, great, because a few years ago with Gondara Center, it is a Springfield-based community group, community services, and works with women in transition and many other communities. And I worked with them. They did a play which was translated into Spanish called Hablando con Dolores. It was about suicide among elders. And this specifically, when it was translated into Spanish, was done for Spanish-speaking communities to talk about suicide among elders in the Spanish-speaking community. And we did it in several places in Springfield and also elsewhere. We did it in Holyoke, I believe, in Worcester, I believe. But it was, and I was facilitating. I have to say that people were amazing, although some of the community responded so beautifully that they exceeded my capacity in Spanish. I was like, yeah, I think you just said. But it was a really important work, and I think that theater has that impact.
Of course it
Theater,
does.
you know.
It reaches out and touches people right there in theater.
Yes.
And that's what it's about. So you're that kind of writer. Is that right?
I hesitate to say, and I'll say why. Some of my work has been based on what's called verbatim theater. I did this piece about Jews in Roma and Eastern Europe. I did a piece about refugees called Homeland, Homeless, where I interviewed many people who are in this country but from around the world. I did a piece in Bosnia called Sarajevo Phoenix, where I interviewed many, many women who lived through the Balkan Wars and then created a theater piece. However, that's a portion of my work. I write plays that are nothing to do with that. Also, I just wrote a play about, I just write plays that are, I don't know how to class it, normal plays. Other
Normal
plays, right. The play I've just written is called Coming of Age, and it's about a women getting older and our roles changing, and what is that? And it's funny, and it's tender, and it's spiritual in its way. So some of the plays that I write do with communities, and others are coming straight out of my own life, my own experience. Yeah.
So basically, in short, like in a nutshell, sort of, you do plays that portrays people's lives.
Well, yeah, I think so, and I think that's pretty normal. Yeah,
those seem to be more effective as opposed to just coming out with some kind of fictional type play.
Well, yes, but what happens when so I have to explain. The first play I wrote children's plays before that, but before that, the first play I wrote was about journalism and objectivity. And I'm not a journalist, but these were questions that really thrilled me. I was actually living in Costa Rica at the time. On a Fulbright. I was very interested in a documentary maker down there who I later met, but they were questions. Where is your responsibility as a journalist? It's not autobiographical. It comes out. Then I wrote a play about teenagers in Maine. Has nothing to do with anything. Right? And then I wrote a play that ended up being about the Holocaust. I didn't intend that. It started, it was about a 16-year-old ballet dancer who got stage fright. I didn't know what that was. It came to be, it led me, fear of being seen is what it was about. Writing leads me to to ask questions. That's why I write. I have questions. I don't understand them. So that's why I write.
I'd like to shift gears a little bit.
Sure, of course.
And I want to go into something that we all live in, which is politics. I understand that you are in the League of Voters.
I have been involved with the League of Women Voters. Yeah.
Ellen, let's talk about that for a minute.
Absolutely.
Tell me exactly, what does that mean in the League of Voters?
Okay, so there's a woman in the community who's amazing, Linda O'Connell, and she came to me, I think 3 years ago. I said, I want to have a meeting, the first meeting of the league, about which I knew nothing. Can I have it at your house? I'm like, of course. And what it is and what Linda has put together, and so I participate as often as I can, it is a group that has a national profile that is about getting people to register to vote.
Okay.
That's its purpose and its point. I have done some work with them. I manned a table at the Jazz Roots Festival, for example. I've been with them in other events, the Puerto Rican Day Parade. We had I loved it. We had what you call a speed dating event where we got to meet all the candidates for sheriff. It was great. But they have many, many events. I just took a training. My problem is time. They do so much good work. But I took a training to moderate debates among candidates.
Okay.
The point is that the league is nonpartisan. It's not saying, well, we want you to vote for this person or that person. What it says is we want you to vote. And I think that's really right. That's important.
Oh, very, very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in these communities today, people don't understand that they have the right to vote.
That's right.
You know, it
That
doesn't matter
people have
who's
died for, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. People have died for the right to do most things today.
It's right. And I have to say too, I mean, there's a lot flawed with the system, with this system, with all systems. It's not that it's a magic cure-all, but the ability for us to come together as communities and actually have an effect on the policies that then come back and affect us, instead of leaving it to a little elite, which is what happens too much, I do think is really important. So I love the work that the league does, and I try to participate as much as I can because I really believe in it. I also want to say, if I may,
Sure.
whether overtly or not, I think theater, the arts, I think are political inherently. Either what you write sort of endorses and supports everything that goes on because it doesn't critique it, or it offers another window on the world.
Okay.
And so I really believe that, in a sense, all of us in the arts, all of us, everybody, but for me, all of us in the arts, there is a responsibility, a moral and ethical responsibility to what we're doing, the kind of stories we tell, who we tell them with, who we tell them to. This, to me, is part of what we do. Can I say the new project I'm working on, which I'm very excited
Please,
about?
sure,
okay?
please.
All right. So, I
love it.
I love telling people stories, but I also believe that I have a responsibility when they're not my stories, that I have to be very ethical and conscious of what that means. There is something happening, for the last couple of years only, since 2012, in northern Syria. Northern Syria.
Yes.
Okay, it's the Kurdish population of northern Syria, a group of Kurds in the north, what borders Turkey, have created an incredible democratic experiment unheard of in that part of the world, where women are fully involved at an equal level, not just as fighters, but as political actors, as everything, where it's very deeply involved with an ecological view of life and with a totally democratic, bottom-up democracy. It's an experiment. Nobody knows how long it'll last. It's under threat. These are the fighters who actually confronted ISIS and beat ISIS in Raqqa, in town after town. These people are doing something extraordinary on this planet, unheard of. I'm interested for very personal reasons. They're inspired.
Sure.
They're inspired by a man named Murray Bookchin, who's an American, but whose work I followed since I'm a kid. I knew him in New York enough to begin to follow his work. He has inspired this democratic experiment in Syria. That's the first thing. The second thing is, this is empowering women in a way that is truly unheard of, and it's amazing. And third, the Kurds are a stateless people who have been so abused, beaten up by history, that and subjected to incredible horrors, that again, that draws me. As a Jewish woman, it draws me. As a woman, it draws me. And as a political person, it draws me. So I am beginning a project talking to women, first here, people who have come from there, who are here in Boston, here in the Northeast, in New York, in DC, and ultimately I will go to Germany, and then after that I hope by next year, if it calms down, I'd like to go to northern Syria to talk to women and put stories into a play, because I think it's a story that needs to be told.
You traveling around the world with these experiences and bringing it back to Springfield is huge. It is huge. It exposes people to the parts of the world that they would never even dream of, knowing about, having the knowledge about. And I want to thank you for that.
Oh, well,
I
thank
think
you.
we want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
So what kind of advice would you give someone who's looking to get into the theater or arts, who not sure what to do next?
Sure. So I will say a bunch of things. One is that I think in high school, go to college. Everybody can go to college. Come talk to me. Talk to anybody. Come if you're interested in that. Take classes. That's what I'm saying. There's the drama studio 2 blocks from where I live. You can take classes there. In your high school, take classes. Come to college, take classes. That's one thing. Another thing is do it. Make your own theater. Do it for your friends. Get up, make what they call devised plays. Write a play. Write 3 sentences. It is really fun and delightful, right? So what I advise is do it with other people who love doing it, take classes, go to see shows, do shows, but mostly make your own work and put it out there and invite people. That's what I would say.
Sure. So you're putting yourself out there to let people call and talk
Oh,
to
of
you.
course, always.
If I wanted to be an actor, I would call you, Ellen. Once again, this was Ellen Kaplin. She joined us here at the Good News Theater. We had some great, powerful information from her. Her email address is actually ekaplin@smith.edu. Once again, that is ekaplin@smith.edu. And I want to thank her for coming. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank
Ellen.
you. Paris, you are wonderful.
You are wonderful. Thank you. You told me things that I've learned here today.
Oh, wow.
And I'll definitely be in touch with you about those trips that you took. Have them on one of our